My name is Sarah Miller. I'm 17 years old, and I go to Ridgewood High School, a small school in a quiet suburban town in Washington. I've always been a good student, mostly keeping to myself and focusing on my studies. But something happened last year that I still can't shake, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to forget it. It started with Ms. Hanson, the school counselor. She was always kind to me, and I'd heard she was helpful to a lot of other students too. But one day, she just vanished. No warning, no explanation. We were all told she was taking a break and would be back soon, but it didn't sit right with me. I hadn't seen her around for days, and the whole thing felt strange. Curious, I decided to go to her office one afternoon. I figured I could get a few answers, maybe even some closure. When I walked in, the first thing that caught my attention was a suitcase sitting in the corner of the room. It wasn't fully packed, but it looked like someone had been getting ready to leave in a hurry. On the desk, there was a small notebook, and for some reason, I couldn't resist flipping through it. The notebook seemed like a simple list at first, just names of students. Some I recognized, some I didn't. But as I turned the pages, I felt my heart race. Ms. Hanson had written down personal details about each student, things no one should have known. Some of the notes were innocent enough, like Johnny loves soccer or Emma enjoys drawing. But then I saw my name on one of the pages. I froze. My name was written in neat handwriting. And next to it were things I'd never told anyone. My family struggles, the fact that I'd been dealing with anxiety, and a lot of other personal stuff that I'd only ever confided in my best friend about. It was like she had been watching me, knowing things I never shared. I couldn't stop reading. The further I went, the more I realized she had details about every student. Things like the kids who were bullied, the ones who had family problems, even the ones who were struggling with depression. It felt like Ms. Hanson was building a profile of everyone. But why? It didn't make sense. I quickly shut the notebook and looked around, but nothing else seemed out of place. I left the office feeling uneasy, but I tried to push the thoughts aside. A week later, something happened that I couldn't ignore. I was sitting in class when the principal made a surprise announcement. Ms. Hanson wasn't on vacation anymore. She was wanted by the police for identity theft. Apparently, she had been using the information she gathered from students to steal their identities and make a profit. The authorities said she had been doing this for months, possibly even years. When I heard that, my stomach dropped. I couldn't stop thinking about the notebook. All those personal details, my name on that list. It felt like I had been part of something twisted. I don't know if I'll ever know the full extent of what Ms. Hanson was planning, but I can't shake the feeling that I narrowly avoided something horrible. To this day, I still look over my shoulder, wondering if anyone else has been affected by what she did. I'll never forget that day I found her office, and I'll never be able to trust anyone the way I did before. My name is Jace Turner. I'm 15 years old and a sophomore at Crestwood High, a small school in a quiet neighborhood on the edge of town. Up until this point, everything in my life had been pretty normal, until I got paired up with Ben for a project. Ben was one of those kids who kept to himself. He didn't talk much, barely ever made eye contact, and always seemed to be in his own world. I didn't know much about him except that he was a bit of an oddball, but that's why we were paired together for the group project. The teacher thought maybe working with someone different would help him come out of his shell. Spoiler alert, it didn't. One afternoon during our group discussion, Ben suddenly stood up and walked out of the room without saying a word. It was strange because he never seemed like the type to just leave mid-conversation. I shrugged it off at first, figuring maybe he just needed a break or something. While we continued working, my curiosity got the better of me. I glanced over at Ben's locker, which was just down the hall. It was slightly open, and for some reason, I felt like I had to take a look. I walked over quietly, making sure no one was around, and peeked inside. What I saw made my heart stop. Inside his locker were several disturbing drawings, crude sketches of different students from our school. They were drawn with eerie precision, each one marked with strange symbols I couldn't understand. But the worst part was the photographs. Some were of kids I recognized, some I didn't, but all of them looked wrong. The photos weren't taken like casual pictures, but more like someone had been watching them closely for a long time. I could feel a cold chill run down my spine as I stared at them. I quickly backed away and went to report it to my teacher. I told her what I'd seen, and she looked concerned but didn't seem to fully understand the gravity of what I was saying. By the time she walked with me to Ben's locker, it was empty. There were no drawings, no photos, just a few textbooks shoved inside. I couldn't explain it. Where had everything gone? A few days passed, and Ben stopped showing up to school altogether. No one talked about it much, but it was clear something was off. It wasn't just the teachers who were unsettled. Everyone was. Some of the kids even joked about him being a ghost, since he never really spoke to anyone. But it wasn't funny anymore. Then came the news. It was on the local station. Ben had been linked to a break-in at a nearby house. The police had found evidence tying him to the crime, but no one knew where he had gone. The details were vague, but I couldn't shake the feeling that everything connected to that locker, the drawings, and the photos was all leading to something darker. I didn't know if Ben was planning to hurt someone, or if he had already done something worse, but I couldn't help but feel I had seen a side of him no one was supposed to know about. To this day, I wonder what might have happened if I hadn't looked inside that locker. Did I just narrowly avoid something worse? What happened to Ben? And where did he go? I'll never have the answers, but every time I pass that hallway, I can't shake the feeling that there's something I missed, something far more sinister. My name is Maya Thompson. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a junior at Ridgeview High School. I've lived in this small town my whole life, and the school has always felt safe, almost too safe. Everything about it is ordinary, but lately I've started feeling like there are things hiding behind those ordinary walls. It all started one morning when I decided to take a shortcut through an old hallway. Most students avoid it because it's barely used and dark, but I had enough time before class and didn't want to deal with the usual rush of people. As I walked through, I noticed something odd, a small side door that I'd never seen before. It was tucked into a corner, almost hidden, like it didn't belong. Curiosity got the better of me. I peeked inside, and what I saw made my heart race. The room was small, cluttered with old furniture and filing cabinets. But what really caught my attention were the documents scattered on a desk. As I looked closer, I realized they were personal files, on students and staff. My name was on one of them. There were photos of students pinned to the walls, including a picture of me. But what was even worse was the information written next to it. Details about my daily schedule, where I usually go after school, my friends, my classes, everything. I felt a cold chill spread through me as I started reading the other files. There were similar notes on other students. Some of them I recognized, others I didn't. It was clear that whoever was behind this room had been watching us. But who? And why? I couldn't take it anymore. I ran straight to the principal's office and told him everything I had seen. He just looked at me, almost like I was crazy. "There's no such room," he said flatly. "Maybe you were imagining things, Maya." I couldn't believe it. He didn't seem worried, just dismissive. It made me feel like I was the one who was wrong. The next day, I passed that hallway again. My heart pounded as I walked by the corner where the door had been. But it was gone, completely gone. No door, no sign that it had ever existed. I felt dizzy, like maybe I had imagined the whole thing. But then, later that day, I opened my locker. There was a note inside, just folded and tucked in between my textbooks. I unfolded it and read the chilling words, "Stay out of places you don't belong." I don't know who put that note there or what it means, but I'm scared. I don't feel safe at school anymore. The thought of someone watching us, Keeping track of everything we do is too much to ignore. I don't know if I'm in danger or if I just stumbled onto something bigger than I ever imagined. But I know one thing for sure. I'm not going near that hallway again.